Three, two, one, and here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Althea's November community call. And we are super excited to be here today because very shortly we'll be talking with Bee. Bee will be joining us from Tacoma Cooperative Network, and they will be sharing all about going live, taking their network live, and their very first installs, which happened last week. So we are really, really excited about that. And if you've been following us along on Twitter, you've seen us sharing some videos and some pictures from Tacoma. So, we're welcome to everyone in the chat as well. Feel free to drop your questions in. We will be answering as many of them as we can. And let's just go ahead with our introductions. To Jehan, we'll start with you. And also I know Deborah and Justin have some updates that they want to go over.
Hi, I'm Jehan. I'm the CEO of Tacoma Networks, the company behind Althea.
Hi, I'm Justin. I'm CTO and generally in charge of making sure everything is not on fire. I try and keep in a state of just smoldering.
And I'm Deborah. I'm the COO, and I work with our community networks, getting started, helping folks through the process. And I also manage our network in Clatskanie, Oregon, which is the rural city that I live in Oregon.
Yep. And I'm Liz. I just realized I forgot to say who I was. And I help with everything social media related and all of that. So if you are talking to us on Twitter, I am the first person that will chat with you. And then I will pass it along to someone who's much more knowledgeable than I am. So Justin or Deborah, who wants to go first with our update? And Bee, I just saw Bee join us. Hi, Bee. Welcome. We're just going to get some updates. And then, can we hear you, Bee?
Yeah, let's make sure Bee's audio is working.
I don't think we
muted, unmuted.
Test, Bee.
Testing.
I think he can hear us. I'm not really sure how the audio gets screwed up on a phone, though. I haven't seen that before. Unless you're using Bluetooth headphones. Do you happen to have a pair of Bluetooth headphones on that is in a backpack somewhere like 80 feet away? This has happened to me before. He may be using headphones, but anyways, we can do an update while he plays with that. While they play with that, sorry.
You want to tell us, Justin, or you would like me to go first on the community stuff?
Yeah, go first with the community stuff. There's more going on.
Okay, yeah, some really exciting stuff going on in our community networks. So the network in Tacoma is live. We launched that last week. He's going to tell us more about that. We have, I think, 6 subscribers on now on the network using a variety of 60 gigahertz gear primarily, which that allows us to do several hundred megabits per second. Very exciting. And then the gateway location, that's with our backhaul fiber into the community, is at some of the David's house. Very excited to be part of the network, knocks on neighbors' doors, gets people excited about it. And I think we have almost like a 50% take rate, right, just in that neighborhood and on his block because of just that sort of neighbor to neighbor interaction. And another one of our networks will be hopefully any day now. We're working through some of the backhaul hiccups, but that's in Abuja, Nigeria, which is the capital city there of Nigeria. I think there's around 1 million people. And that's really exciting too, because not only will we have a router-to-router for the infrastructure payment system, we're hoping to add, and I think Justin can tell us a little bit more about this, a router to mobile device payment so that more people can join the network. So not only the sort of upper middle class homes and businesses can have infrastructure, but also some of the lower income folks can join the network as well for their bandwidth. One of the kind of interesting things about Abuja is the cash to crypto on-ramp. we have local street vendors that have these sort of big umbrellas to sort of point out that they are offering kind of like an M-Pesa type payment system where you give them cash and they give you digital money. And so these folks have come on board to do our on-ramping for cash to crypto there in Abuja, Nigeria, which is pretty exciting.
And can I interrupt you for 1 second? Hey, Bee, are you able to mute your whereby when Deborah's talking? Just because we can hear the dog in the background. Thank you. And also, Deborah, Yax is in the chat right now. So on.
Very cool. Yakubu Yakubu, our Yax, and hopefully I'm pronouncing the name right, Yax, sorry if not, is our organizer there. He has a company called Penslate, and he'll be doing the organizing in Abuja, and then hopefully some of as they expand into Lagos as well. So really exciting. Hopefully, if you have any questions, that we can have those in the chat and get a dialogue going there. We also have our Oakville network that has now ordered backhaul, looking at a first of the year deployment with that. Another exciting deployment in Oregon. There looks like there's Sean too. That's the Bee's helper there. So what's really exciting about our Oregon deployment in Newburgh, Oregon, is that we will be working with a local municipality called the City of Sherwood, who will actually be running an Althea equipment on their network and getting paid per gigabyte for the traffic of the network. And that lets us go ahead and start the network. And instead of paying a monthly lease for the backhaul, like in one big chunk and having to take out a long-term lease, we can go ahead and get people connected right away. And grow and also grow to some of their other on-net locations. So very excited about that sort of pilot of that kind of structure and the partnership that we've made with the City of Sherwood. There's lots of other great stuff. There's lots more networks that started their work to become an Altheahood, have done a community outreach that are making great strides. And to all you folks, I really appreciate all the work that you're doing there on the ground. But I'll turn that over to Justin and they can talk a little bit about what's going on with tech.
Yeah, so while the sort of social side of this and the partnership side of this has been materializing, and I'm really excited about the Sherwood partnership, especially because that's sort of our final vision for Althea, is to change the market for internet from one that is very subscription-based and very much like chicken and an egg. You need to build a whole ISP to have to be able to pay to have an ISP, into something where people can simply naturally expand. And it lets people build their own networks rather than having to sit around and deal with bad internet until somebody completely outside of their control normally decides to build out a better network. So on the technical side, what I've been focused on recently is okay, let's see. Last month was the last update. If I think about my last dev update, we've really hit some stability milestones as far as the firmware, and we hit those just in time for the for the single collateral die to multi-collateral die transition. So that's really the only technical problem we've had with our own stuff in the past month or more, which is very impressive considering we have more users than we've ever had, and stuff is generally working very well, very solid. No real issues reported. But the multi-collateral die transition is what we're working on for beta 10, along with some other transitory changes specifically for Yax's deployment, designed to help us prepare for mobile device support. And the question for an Althea app, everybody's always like, well, why can't I just install an app on my phone? And we have stayed away from that for a long time because it's not really useful in the developed world. In the developed world, people may buy internet from Wi-Fi hotspots if they're at an airport or on a plane, but in general, they don't really bother with it. And for good reason. Mobile data is in a pretty good spot, and most people can get by with what they have there. But in places like Abuja, most people only have mobile phones for all of their mobile data usage, And mobile data still costs $10 a gig, roughly the same as it does in the United States, despite the income of the average user being vastly lower. So this means that Althea has a real advantage as a way to build out home internet and then also provide internet to mobile-only users. So that's what we're working on. It's a real light client sort of solution, meaning that the phones are not going to be passing data around. They're going to connect to an Althea router for a home user and buy internet that way. Now they'll be able to roam between different Althea routers for different homes and different locations, not seamlessly at first, but I'm hoping to get there eventually. Yeah, so it's just a really good use case for that sort of market, and I think the implementation's going pretty well. You can keep track of it on our GitHub, as always, github.com/althea-net. And I'm just about getting into the WireGuard stuff later this week. I hope to have something to show off by the end of this week, by the end of next week, maybe in a short video. End of this week would be very optimistic. I'm not in possession of enough caffeine for that. So yeah, I think that's most of the technical update. Keep your eye out for a blog post detailing detailing some of the design challenges of a mobile app implementation and how I work through those. Somewhere around the end of the month, so it's a little bit later than normal, but I'm really trying to be heads down on this and get it out fast for Yax and his users there.
And we have a question from Yax. And also for the blog post, make sure you're following us on Twitter, and we will tweet out all those dev updates. Justin has great ones. So yeah, definitely make sure you're staying connected with us there. But Yax has a quick question, and then I think we'll get to Bee. He's asking, do you think using a bonding router helps in terms of bringing down the cost with regards to setting up gateways? If yes, what product will you recommend?
A bonding router? I'm not sure on the term there. Let me look at the chat myself. I have it up on my phone here.
Yax is talking about a router that aggregates backhaul.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so bonding in like the NIC teaming sense. Cool. So yeah, I think so a bonding router in that sense would make sense if backhaul agreements were metered, or more like the partnerships we've been talking about. Obviously in an Althea world, where you're buying backhaul from a provider over Althea, you plug in 5, 10 backhauls, as many as you can get. It doesn't matter because you pay for what you use. And so you can create a more reliable network more easily. If you have 5 incoming cables, you can use 5 incoming cables. Now, unfortunately, the reality right now is that you have to pay for all 5 of those, and you probably only need the capacity from one. So I've never seen a case where that was cost feasible. But as far as software support, yeah, you can totally do it. You'll need a separate gateway for each connection, but you just wire them into another relay, or you could put them into a switch in front of a sector, and yeah, people will load balance across the different backhauls, no problem.
So Justin,
It's a little more complicated than that. I mean, you wouldn't be able to have if you had 2 100 megabit connections, you wouldn't be able to have a 200 megabit single 200 megabit stream across it, but you could have 200 megabit streams like over those 200 megabit connections.
So I think that Yax is specifically talking about these types of routers that actually aggregate the WANs, and then it would go to an Althea router south of that.
Yeah, so the Althea router can do that natively, which is what I was talking about. If you have a device to do that specifically north of the Althea device, that'll work fine too. We've done a lot of work to make Althea transport agnostic, and it can deal with just about anything. And if you find something it can't deal with, let me know, because I'm very interested. But one lesson you learn when it comes to designing software is that if you want software to work all of the time, it has to actually be indestructible. So metaphorically, think of reliable software like those trucks you see in pictures. It's like an old Toyota, and it's piled 8 times its height with hay bales. That's how you need to build something before it actually really works all the time.
Awesome. Nice. So I think those are So hi to everyone in the chat. We've got a lot of people in the chat today. So a lot of our organizers, Matthew Bruce just from Lions Telecoms just joined us. We've got Yax. So this is going to be a great organizer chat. And so I know, Deborah, you have some questions for Bee. And Bee, I don't know, do you want to ask your questions, or do you want to give us an update first?
Let's let Bee tell us about how it went. Like,
how's it going?
What's the journey like?
I still can't believe it's been almost 2 weeks. It's kind of been a blur, to be honest. And I don't know what I thought it was going to be like when we launched, but it definitely wasn't as surreal as this. It's real interesting having these people. We met like 6 months ago when we were canvassing. They call me at night now for tech support and for advice. And it's like being in the call center again, but less stressful. But I'm actually here at one of our members' house. Let's see if I can get this back in the shot. There we go. Yeah, that's one of the antennas we're actually going to be swapping out tomorrow for a higher powered one. Yeah, I figured on the field it might be nice. But down the street, you probably can't see, but this is the network right now. Everything down that street, we've got about 6 other people on right now, and we'll have a 7th tomorrow. We're getting there. We're getting there. Our word's getting out, and people are getting excited. And one of the calls I got last night was from somebody, hey, should we go ahead and turn off our other service? Well, if you like our service, go ahead. And they did. They were happy to turn off their router. So it's small, but it's going. And yeah, I don't know.
I think the story of of Cheryl, like where you're at there now, is really exciting. Do you think that you could share a little bit more about like her story and the sort of impact on the community that you're making?
Yeah. So Cheryl, we're at her and her sister's house. They're 2 elderly sisters that live together. Cheryl's going to school for a master's in business management, I believe. But they couldn't afford the local ISP. They want $30, $40 a month for 10 megabits down, and they just couldn't do it. The equipment's still here. So they ran into us, or we ran into them over the summer, and she had been going to school. She buses to school and does what she can at school, but she has to ride her wheelchair down to the library because that's the only place that she can get free internet. And that's prohibitive, especially now that the weather's changing. So we've kind of hooked her up at a great time. So she can do her homework from home. I'm actually working on getting her a computer where she can run the newest Office suite, Microsoft Office suite. And she can stream online. She hasn't had any complaints about it, and has already told me that there's going to be times where they use the free tier, the slow tier, and that's fine. That's what we have it there for. But yeah, it's really neat watching somebody who really didn't have internet before get connected, and being able to connect with friends and family, being able to get their homework done. They have access to Netflix, Hulu, or Disney Plus, I guess, whatever streaming services they want. It's a huge resource for them. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of neat watching it all happen. You're providing a need for somebody.
And I think what's also exciting is that I know that at first you may think like she has to use the free tier, but she's going to be a relay. So she's providing internet to her neighbors. So very possibly she'll be making enough money to offset her balance and maybe even a little bit extra.
That's actually why we're here. I did forget to mention that. We're here. She's actually at school right now, but her sister's home. I think her sister's home, but yeah, we're out back right now installing the access point so that one of her neighbors that is 2 doors down on the other street can get connected. That's what Sean is here doing. Hey, Sean.
Oh,
Sean, wave to the people at home.
great. I've been wanting like video of an installation for a very long time. So thank you, Bee. This is satisfying.
Oh, I know. That's you all know what installation looks like, but
No, that's great.
Yeah, and the one thing I also wanted to mention too is, I watched you, go through with these folks and help them set up with their Coinbase so they could get the digital currency and send it to their routers and so forth. And it seemed like it was a really smooth process from watching, and that it all went pretty easy. I don't know if you have any insights or just some words of wisdom there for folks, but it seemed like it was a pretty easy process for you.
The people that you think are not going to understand are going to be the ones that really latch on and go with it. And it's kind of weird that way. I had a member that they're not real keen on it yet, but they're kind of tech savvy. They just don't like the extra steps.
Oh, that's me.
Sorry. But their neighbor isn't very tech savvy at all and took right to it. She's like, oh, it's just an app. You fill out the information. Oh, and then you just purchase it like you would a gift card or anything. Okay, that's pretty easy. So try not to assume. And, when you're going into to teach people, assume that they have a certain level of competence. Don't try to assume that they don't know anything or they won't understand because they're not real tech savvy. It doesn't take a whole lot, especially on iOS, to get them set up on Coinbase. And Althea's got instructions that help you along. If you need to give folks that to lean on and just be ready. They may need to be walked through a couple times before they get it, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's great. And we have a few comments in the chat. Matthew Bruce, who's our organizer from Lions Telecom, says this is awesome and very inspiring. Austin, who I forgot to mention the first time, is also in the chat. He's our organizer in North Plains and Newburgh, and so part of Oregon. He says, congratulations on Tacoma Cooperative. That is flippin' awesome to finally be able to go from canvassing to starting the network and doing installs. So I'd say we all agree on that.
Yes,
It's really huge.
Yeah.
He's ready to drop a new album as well, too, you and Sean.
It was warm when I left the house.
And, man, I want to get some installs in snow. Oh, yes, Sean?
What were you saying?
Said I've at least got some sun on the back porch.
Oh, it's at least sunny back here.
Just right where I'm working.
Nice. So are there other questions from our panel for Bee? From Justin or Jehan? Or you guys?
Were there any?
I was wondering what kind of tech support calls you're getting, Bee, besides the one where they're asking if they should turn off their existing service.
The other one, we had an issue, and we've got a workaround for now, but it's something that Justin and I have talked a little bit about, where we had a television that it was not being assigned a IP address from the Althea router. It just wouldn't, and it was asking us to assign a static one. We just don't have that option yet. So the workaround is to get a little $20 router for that to connect to for now. And the other one was somebody was installed a smart thermostat, and I personally don't think they connected it to the Wi-Fi correctly, because now it's doing what a printer does and tries to give off its own Wi-Fi, which works if you want to directly connect to it, but it's not going to work anytime else. So we're going to do a little research on that particular brand, and I just told the member to call in and ask for a step-by-step on how to connect it to the Wi-Fi. I'm pretty sure they can. If they can't provide it over the phone, they'd be able to provide it a link or something to do that. So we're still working on that. It's a process, but yeah, most of it's just small, innocuous stuff like that, basic Wi-Fi troubleshooting.
Nice.
So we have a question from Matthew in the chat. How long did it take to get started, including getting your quote for backhaul?
I'd say from when we hit the ground running, it's been about 6 months. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 6 months from when we started to now. Our backhaul was a little quicker than, from what I understand, that it takes. We were able to get our backhaul done within a couple of months, if I remember correctly, like 2, maybe 3. But when we're talking to other companies like Wave, it can be up to 22 weeks. It can be up to 22 weeks. So that's 5.5 months. So if you're going to start now. Start planning now, because it's going to take a minute before you can even hit the ground, let alone start installing antennas.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so exciting about the Sherwood partnership, and something that we hope to be able to bring to other communities as well. So, if you are thinking about doing a network in your community, please reach out, fill out a proposal at republic.co/Althea, so that we can get started looking at the planning, looking at what our options are, and help you out with that.
And do it now. Do it while you can earn those tokens. It's not going to take time, but you're going to need. There's a lot of videos to watch and rewatch, and then you're going to forget that they're there, and you're going to go back when you're installing and rewatch those. There's just a lot of planning, a lot of pre-planning involved. So while we've got the tokens happening, do it now.
So Bee is responsible for all.
Will continue to happen. Those will continue to happen, but yeah, do it now so you can get your backhaul started.
And all the links are in our description. I will also pop the Republic link in the chat. But yep, in the description, we have all our links to our Republic page where you can start watching the videos and submit your proposal and earn tokens. And then we have a link to our Discord chat. Our Discord is where you can have a lot of questions answered and just learn a lot. And then also there's links to Tacoma if you are in Tacoma and want to sign up, and as well as where you can follow all of us on Twitter. So,
if you're in Western Washington, go ahead and shoot me an email. Where the Tacoma is not the end. Tacoma is just the beginning.
Yeah. Yay. So yeah. Oh, and there's one more in the chat. Yak says, one of the things I'd really like to achieve with Althea is to give qualitative education via Khan Academy. Can we, Althea, broker that type of partnership?
That's a great question.
I mean,
I think Khan Academy is pretty much free, right?
Yeah, my children do Khan Academy, and yeah, it's a great free service. I'm not familiar with any of the paid programs they might have, but I know much of it is free.
Yeah, if it is free, I mean, I don't know what he means about a partnership, but yeah, high-speed internet access will let people watch that in a way they wouldn't be able to on their phones.
I think Yax might be referring to whitelisting a certain website so that it's even when someone's on the free tier, they could go to Khan Academy. I think that he may be referring to that kind of a deal.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. That's kind of that's up to the network, I guess, because traffic going to that website will not be generating income for relays. So that's just a choice to make, I guess. There, but yeah, we could definitely build the tech to make that easy to turn on.
So from a technical perspective, I'll sort of give a bit of feedback on that. The way Althea, since Althea is a cooperative network, you can't have somebody unilaterally decide that X or Y is free, because people are buying and selling bandwidth individually. They're getting paid for it. Nobody can sort of reach into your router and make a specific site free. Now, the organizers could suggest lower prices, but people can still choose to charge, what they want. And if it's too high, the network's just going to ignore them. But anyways, what I'm getting to here is that if you set the free tier of the network, if the network agrees on a free tier that is fast enough for Khan Academy videos, which is not as fast as you probably think it needs to be. It probably only needs to be a couple of megabits a second. then you end up in the then you can end up allowing free access to things like that without needing to get a large amount of coordination. Of course, there are other ways to go about it if you really have everyone's cooperation, but in general, everybody's going to have fast enough internet to watch videos and do Khan Academy and everything else that you can do on the internet.
Awesome.
I would actually, you know what? Yeah, that's a really good reminder. I take back what I said before. It's actually wrong. Because of the way we could probably do something since we're running the exit nodes ourselves, and also probably if we set something up in the firmware as a default option, people will go with it. So de facto, we probably would be able to put that kind of setting in place. But from like kind of a stricter like perspective of like what's really possible, it would be, if we add the option, it'd be possible for someone to spoof it so that they're watching something that wasn't Khan Academy on what we had intended to be the Khan Academy free tier. So it might not be as easy. But I mean, like with a gigabyte of data, so if it's a gigabyte for 10 cents or something, I mean, that's a lot of videos. Just, do you think that those videos from Khan Academy, they're mostly like blackboards? I think those compress a lot smaller than
Yeah, they compress
streams.
pretty well, especially since you only need clear frames intermittently. But anyways, this is one of those situations where people are very used to arbitrary billing schemes where random things are free and random things are expensive, and it gets arbitrarily changed out from under you by someone else. That's not how Althea works. And this does have some downsides, but I think they're smaller than the upsides of not having, AT&T or whoever decide that your data rate is going, decide that X or Y will be billed and Z will not be billed just because they feel like it one day.
As a net neutrality.
Yeah. Definitely. And Yax said, "Spot on, Deborah." your comment.
Yeah, I think Justin and Jehan both had some really great responses.
Yeah, great answers. And so I don't see it. We don't have any more questions in the chat so far. And it's 6:35 where I'm at. So that's about time, unless Deborah or Justin have any last questions for Bee. I think we're good. Or
do we want to go ahead and let Bee kind of take us out here and let us know, wrap it up? Oh, we can't hear you.
We lost your sound again. Oh no. Oh.
Humanity will figure out Bluetooth approximately the same time we figure out Fusion.
All right. Well. Oh, thanks, Yax.
Thanks, Yax.
He said, Justin, John, Liz, you guys are awesome, and Deborah.
Okay.
But
yeah, maybe no epic conclusion with Bee. We might just have to get Bee on again to talk about expansion of Tacoma in about another month or so. And get the last one done.
So, Deborah, why don't you take us out then?
Again, I want to just thank all of our amazing organizers. Really great work, Bee, and all the folks in Tacoma. Really great to see all of that work over the last few months come to life and connect people to their community. And then all the other hard-working organizers throughout the United States and throughout the world. And look forward to having more of you folks on as your networks break ground and come online and you connect your communities. Hopefully we'll be excited to have many more of these types of community calls.
Yes, definitely. So see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.